Good morning. Kate here, bringing you this week's Monday Mission. And this one, we're going to talk about the lens through which we see the world. Okay, so I'm going to give a few examples of what I mean by that. And then, as always, end with our mission and our journal prompt for how we can learn from the lens that we're kind of showing up with, how we're viewing things through, and possibly looking for different ways to see things on different lenses. Okay, so what kind of made me think of this lesson is this book, Pete the Cat and His Magic Sunglasses. So I don't know, moms and teachers out there, if you know Pete the Cat, but he has some great life lessons. And this one is a fun one. He he's sad one day, right? So normally Pete the Cat is always in a very good mood. And one day he's really sad, and Grumpy Toad comes up and gives him these magic sunglasses, right? And the sunglasses, when you put them on, he sees the sun shining and the birds chirping and sees things in a whole different way, right? So then the story goes on how he shares the sunglasses with Squirrel, who is frustrated, and then his other little friend that is sad and, kind of goes through some different emotions. And then the sunglasses break and they all panic that they're not going to be able to see the world in this great new way anymore. And Wise Owl teaches them that they don't need the sunglasses, right? They can choose to see the world in the way that they want to, right? They can choose to see it through a different lens, all on their own without the sunglasses, right? So really great message. Even though it is for kids, I think as adults we can really learn from that. So I want to give an example of why the lens through which we see the world is so important to look at, right? And to just be curious about. So many of you, I don't know if you know, but my maiden name is Murphy, right? So my family, all growing up, and they still do it today, but the lens that our family kind of saw the world through was Murphy's Law, right? Which is, if it can go wrong, it will, right? Things are not going to work out. And we would joke about it, it was said in a funny way. But really, if you think about seeing your whole life through that lens of nothing's really going to work out, and like, of course something went wrong, right? Murphy's Law, of course it did. So like we would go on vacation and it would be raining and it would be like, Murphy's Law, of course, the Murphys are at the beach. Of course it's going to rain, right? And again, it's funny and, it was meant to be kind of humorous, but imagine seeing everything that you approach in your life through this lens of nothing's going to work out. Nothing's going to work out. And if something can go wrong, it will, right? So not a great way to approach everything in life, right? Not a great lens to have. So that's just, I think, a good example of showing how your lens, which is often created and developed in childhood, whether it's through family or through messaging or just your friends, the people that you're around the most are really influential on your lens. It's just really important to know what that lens is and how it's impacting you, right? Because you see everything through that lens, okay? Or the days when you are just everything is just irritating to you, right? You go to pick something off the floor and it takes you 3 times to try to pick it up. And then you go and somebody takes your parking space and right, just like everything goes wrong that can go wrong in the day. Those days I'm talking about, right? Your lens though for that day is that everything is going to go wrong. And so that's how you see it, right? It kind of sets your mood and your tone and how you show up is created by that lens. So other ways that our lens can show up, right? Your lens might be that I'm not good enough, right? So if you see everything that happens in your life through the lens of you're not good enough, you can imagine how you're going to show up, right? Or everything has to be perfect. That's another lens that I have, right? Everything must be perfect. I'm that recovering perfectionist. We've talked about that, right? It really, really impacts the way that you show up when you see the world through that lens. Another lens might be the worst case scenario is always going to happen, right? Your mind jumps to worst case scenario. That's of course what's going to happen, right? Someone's late, so that means that they are in a ditch, somewhere, right, on the side of the road, or, you just jump to that worst case scenario. And you can imagine, again, if that is your lens, how you're showing up, how that's impacting how you interact, how you think, how you feel, right? Just how you even go about your day and move around in the world is impacted by that lens that you have. Another lens you might have is that everyone is judging me, right? Or a lens you might have is people can't be trusted. People are always going to hurt you, right? If that's your lens, again, you can see how that's going to impact how you show up in the world, how you show up in relationships, how you show up at work. It's just going to trickle down and impact all of your interactions that you have with yourself and with others. Okay, so, but I want to make sure that I'm getting this point across. It's not about toxic positivity, right? So this book can get a little bit woo woo in that it's just think positively, right? And you're fine. That's not what I'm saying here, right? I'm not saying that we just need to think happy thoughts and everything will be fine. It's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is we just want to be super curious about the lens that we are seeing everything through, okay? It doesn't mean you necessarily have to change that lens, right? It's just if that lens is not serving you, then yeah, that is something that we probably want to work on. And we want to recognize that we can choose different lenses, right? So just like the wise old owl, you don't need the sunglasses, right? You don't need your circumstances to change. Well, if things worked out more for me, then my lens would change. That's your circumstance. That's your situation, right? You don't need those things to change. You can change with the thoughts. You can choose the different thoughts that you want to have. You can choose the lens for which you see everything through, okay? That's why it's important. It's not, again, this toxic positivity, just put on your rose-colored glasses, right? That's not what I'm trying to get to here. It's just getting curious about what your lens is. Now, lenses, really, if we think about it, are your beliefs, right? The beliefs that you grew up with, the beliefs that you received from your messaging that were kind of imprinted on you as a kid that are now a sledding hill in your brain, right? Because beliefs are just thoughts that were repeated over and over again. The same thought that was repeated over and over again, it becomes a belief, right? And then that belief is the lens through which we see everything through, okay? So this is just an exercise in getting curious about what kind of underlying beliefs there are, right? What lens you might be seeing things through to give you empowerment to change the lens. If you want to have a different relationship, a better relationship, if you want to feel more empowered at work, if you want to maybe stop yelling at your kids or getting in this cycle or patterns with your kids that aren't productive, right? It's a really great question to ask. Well, what lens am I seeing this through? What belief might be underneath? Okay, so that is your mission should you choose to accept it, is what lens am I seeing this through? Really asking yourself that question, okay? And that's our journal prompt for the week is a lens I have is, and then fill in the blank, whatever comes to you, right? We have different lenses. We don't necessarily have one lens, for all things. We may have different ones, different beliefs that kind of skew how we view the world, right? So this is just an exercise in being curious, right? All of this is data. It doesn't mean that things need completely change. It doesn't mean that you judge yourself for having this lens, right? It's just recognizing that it's there and that it truly does impact how you show up and how you view the world. And it may not be a productive way, and that there may be a different way that is much more productive. Okay, so that's our mission. Should we choose to accept it? Be like Pete the cat, right? Figure out what your lens is, what beliefs are underlying that are kind of skewing how you're seeing the world, and then recognize that you can choose a different lens, right? You have that power. Okay, so as always, share with me anything that comes up, and I hope you have a great week. We'll talk soon. Bye.